$12,000. That is less than most people spend on a used pickup truck. And I am about to show you how that same amount of money can buy you a fully framed, fully roofed, 2-in-1 building. One side is a real workshop with power tools running and sawdust flying. The other side is a place to sleep, cook, and actually live. Not a shed with a cot thrown in the corner. An actual dual-purpose structure that a permit office can approve and a bank appraiser can put a number on. Stick around, because at the end of this video, I am going to show you the one design mistake that turns this from a $12,000 success story into an $18,000 permit nightmare. Most first-time builders make it in the first 2 weeks, and it is completely avoidable once you know what to look for. Before we get into the numbers, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel puts out honest, research-backed breakdowns of tiny homes and alternative housing every single week, with real 2026 pricing, not fantasy numbers pulled from a 5-year-old blog post. If you're serious about building small and building smart, you want to be part of this community. Subscribe now, so you do not miss what is coming. So can you actually build a workshop and a tiny home combo for $12,000 in 2026? Let me be straight with you, because this channel does not do hype. A standard 2-car detached garage built by a contractor runs $28,000 to $50,000 this year, according to national cost data from Angie and the Garage Guide. A professionally built tiny home on wheels averages $70,000 to $130,000. If you try to hire out a combo workshop and living space the traditional way, you would be looking at $45,000 and up, and that is confirmed by real-world combo builders like Viking Metal Garages, who quote their smallest workshop and storage combination starting around $26,000 installed. So no, you're not hiring a contractor to swing a hammer for $12,000. That number only works one way. You become the general contractor, you buy a DIY post-frame kit instead of stick-built construction, and you're strategic about what gets finished now versus what gets finished later. This is not a shortcut. This is how thousands of rural landowners have been building affordable outbuildings for decades. We are just applying it to a dual-purpose design. The entire budget hinges on one decision, and it is choosing a post-frame building, commonly called a pole barn kit, instead of traditional stick frame construction. According to 2026 pricing from DIY pole barns and Keen's Buildings, a basic engineered 20 by 24 foot pole barn kit delivered to your site runs in the range of $7,000 to $10,000 for the shell materials alone. That includes the posts, trusses, steel roofing and siding panels, and fasteners. Why does post-frame construction beat stick framing on cost? Because you're skipping the poured perimeter foundation. The posts get set directly into the ground on concrete footings, which according to Home Guide's 2026 pole barn data cuts labor and material costs by 50 to 70% compared to a conventional stick-built structure of the same footprint. That single decision is what turns an $18,000 minimum project into something that can realistically land under $12,000. Picture a 20 by 24 foot footprint. That is 480 square feet, which is larger than most tiny homes on wheels. Split the building roughly 60-40. The larger 60%, about 290 square feet, is your workshop. Concrete floor, a workbench along one wall, pegboard for tools, and a roll-up or sliding door big enough to get a truck, a table saw, or a future project vehicle inside. The remaining 40%, around 190 square feet, is framed off as your living quarters. The ground floor holds a kitchenette, a small bathroom, and a seating and storage area. Above that, a sleeping loft tucked under the roofline adds another 100 to 120 square feet of usable space without adding a single extra foot to your footprint or your permit fees. This loft trick is the same one used in nearly every tiny home on wheels in the country, and it works just as well in a stationary post-frame build. Let's walk through the real budget based on 2026 material and kit pricing. The post-frame shell kit, 20 by 24 feet, engineered and delivered, runs approximately $8,000 to $9,500. Concrete footings and a partial slab for the workshop side, done as an owner-poured project rather than hiring it out, runs about $1,200 to $1,800 in material, based on 2026 slab pricing of $5.50 to $9 per square foot for materials and labor, cut down because you are supplying your own labor. Basic electrical for a single 100 amp sub panel, enough to run power tools on one side and lighting, small appliances, and a mini split on the living side. Runs $1,100 to $1,800 in materials. If you are pulling your own wire and having a licensed electrician do only the final panel connection and inspection, which is required in nearly every jurisdiction. A single residential grade overhead door for the workshop bay runs $700 to $1,200 installed. Windows, 2 to 3 units for the living side, runs $600 to $1,000 total based on 2026 window installation pricing. That subtotal lands right around $11,600 to $12,000 if you stay close to the low end of every category. And it is before you have spent $1 on interior finishes. Being honest with you, this budget is tight. Upgrade even one line item, a bigger door, a nicer window, a longer electrical run, and you can push past $12,000 fast. This is exactly why the $12,000 version of this project is a true shell and rough in build, built lean on purpose. You get a weather-tight, code-compliant, dual-purpose structure with power and a functioning workshop bay. Insulation, drywall, plumbing fixtures, and interior finish carpentry for the living quarters become Phase 2, funded separately, once the shell is standing and the workshop side is already earning its keep. Here is where I have to be honest with you, because this is where most budget breakdowns online quietly lie. If you want a full bathroom with a shower, a real kitchen sink, and hot water on demand, plumbing typically adds $3,000 to $6,000, depending on how far you're running lines from an existing water source and septic or sewer connection. That is not included in the $12,000 number. The honest version of this build at $12,000 either uses a composting toilet and an outdoor or utility sink setup, which keeps plumbing costs under $500, or it treats full plumbing as a Phase 2 addition once the shell is complete. Either path is completely legitimate. Plenty of successful tiny home and workshop combos run this exact staged approach, and I would rather tell you that up front than have you find out halfway through a build. This is the part that decides whether your project sails through or gets red tagged, and it ties directly into the mistake I promised to show you. Any structure with a sleeping loft and a habitable living space, even inside what looks like a garage or workshop, gets classified differently than a simple storage barn. Most states have adopted some version of IRC Appendix Q, the Tiny House Appendix, which allows reduced ceiling heights and ladder access to lofts under 200 square feet. But Appendix Q only helps you if your local jurisdiction has actually adopted it, and adoption is not universal. Before you order a single piece of lumber, call your local building and zoning department and ask 2 direct questions. First, has this county or city adopted IRC Appendix Q? Second, does a combined workshop and dwelling unit on one parcel require a separate accessory dwelling unit permit? And does your property's zoning even allow a second dwelling? States like California, with its wide, open statewide ADU laws, and Virginia, which just passed Senate Bill 531 to legalize backyard suites by right with permit fees capped at $500, are leading the charge to make this easier. Keep in mind Virginia's law does not take effect until July of 2027. So if you are building there now, you're still working under the old rules for the time being. Other counties still require a variance or a conditional use permit. Skipping this call is the single most common reason projects like this stall out or get hit with unexpected fees. Here is the mistake I promised you at the top of this video. Builders design the loft and the workshop bay as one continuous open volume, thinking it will feel bigger and cost less to frame. It does feel bigger. It also automatically classifies your entire structure, workshop included, as part of a residential occupancy in most building codes, because there is no fire-rated separation between the shop and the living space. That single design choice can add anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 in required fire-rated drywall, a rated door assembly, and sometimes a fire suppression requirement, depending on your jurisdiction. The fix costs you almost nothing at the design stage. Frame a simple stud wall with a self-closing, fire-rated man door between the workshop and the living quarters before you ever pour a footing. That one wall, planned from day one, is the difference between a $12,000 build and an $18,000 build. Get your framing plan reviewed by your local building department before you order materials, not after. A workshop and tiny home combo solves a problem that a standalone tiny home never addresses, which is where you actually get to build things. It also solves a problem a standalone garage never addresses, which is having somewhere to crash after a 12-hour day, covered in sawdust instead of driving home. For rural landowners, hobby builders, and anyone easing into homesteading, this dual-purpose structure often gets approved faster than a standalone accessory dwelling unit, because on paper it reads as a workshop with a loft, not a second house. It also holds its value differently than a typical tiny home on wheels. A permitted, stick-built, or post-frame structure on a permanent foundation adds real assessed value to a property, the same way a finished garage does according to Angie's 2026 data, showing a standard 2-car garage adding $10,000 to $25,000 in home value. A tiny home on wheels, by comparison, is treated like a vehicle for resale purposes and depreciates instead of appreciating. So here is your real takeaway. $12,000 gets you a genuine, code-aware, dual-purpose shell with working power and a usable workshop bay today, and a clear, honest path to a finished living space tomorrow. It does not get you a finished bathroom, full insulation and granite countertops, and anyone telling you otherwise online is not giving you 2026 numbers. If this breakdown helped you, subscribe to Affordable Tiny Homes right now, because next week I am tearing apart another niche housing style with the same no fluff, real number approach. Drop a comment and tell me what size lot you're working with, and I will tell you honestly whether a build like this fits. Like this video if you want more real budget breakdowns instead of fantasy numbers, and I will see you in the next one.